Hey everybody, Michael Snyder here, Pacific Northwest Weather Watch. Today is February 25th, and right now we are looking at the infrared satellite imagery here, and you can clearly see our beautiful frontal system moving through western BC. It's going to move down across the area from northwest to southeast, increasing high and mid-level clouds during the day today. We'll take an extremely detailed look at what we can expect for this system tonight on into tomorrow morning, and we are not done with our snow chances yet, so we're going to get some additional ones as we go through early to mid this week coming up. Now, taking a look here, you can see overall winter storm impacts, highest across the higher terrain. Some minor impacts can be expected across the Willamette Valley and the Puget Sound here coming up, as well as some portions east of the Cascades as well. Seattle, we're going to be below average this month. There's no way getting around that, but we could add to some of the snow totals here through the end of February with our snow chances the next couple of days, and we did set that all-time daily record low for February 24th of 22 there. Now, taking a look here, the European, you can see during the afternoon, it starts to move down out of the northwest across the Seattle Metro tonight. Eventually, Portland Metro, Cascades, as this moves down to the southeast here, then maybe changes over to kind of a rainy, wintry mix here as we go through the day Sunday. But we're not done with our snow chances yet. So you see this low pressure spinning off the coastline here, continuing to move bands of snowfall across western Washington, southwest BC, through western Oregon, all the way on in through Tuesday afternoon and nighttime. Now looking at the GFS, similar timing there as well. Keeps things a little bit more snowy as you go on in through Sunday here. Then has that low pressure system in a similar area with bands of snowfall potentially going on in through Tuesday as well. Now taking a look here, this is the southerly winds going to be working on our cold and dry air mass, trying to modify it here. This winds come off the higher terrain. There's going to be a snow shadow here across Pierce County. There's also going to be another one here northeast of the Olympic Mountains as well. May include Whidbey Island, also Port Townsend areas also. Now if we look at 5,000 feet, you can see why that is. It's coming off the Olympic Mountains, a little bit of compressional heating there. And it's already a very marginal event coming up here, so it might keep the temperatures just above freezing for a lot of the event. Now looking at the European dew point temperatures, you can see we are pretty cold and dry across the area, and that's what we're going to need. For the snow lovers, you're going to want this air mass to be dry enough to be able to drop that temperature down to freezing or just below as the precipitation's falling if you want that measurable snowfall. So you can see what happens as we go through the day today. The air mass moistens here, and then that snow is going to start to fall tonight, and we're going to be just below for a lot of the areas, but it's going to try to moisten up and try to bring things just above freezing for some areas as well. A very tricky forecast here for the lower elevations of the Puget Sound down through the Willamette Valley, but of course onto the east, you can see it's much drier and colder. Now, taking a look here, this is the National Blend of Models, not showing much snowfall with this event coming up here, but we'll take a look at the European, the NAM here in a moment as well. Now, you can see this just a skiff for Seattle, maybe a little bit northeast of Seattle also, and maybe an inch or so as you go down from Olympia south towards Portland. Not much for the Willamette Valley. Big snows, though, for the Cascades, but watch as we go on in through early this week, Tuesday night into Wednesday. You can see a couple inches falling maybe around the Seattle area here, Olympia south towards Portland, a little bit, maybe a skiffer. So down here across the Willamette Valley, but big mountain snows coming up. Now let's see what the European says. It did really well with that snowstorm down there in Portland. You can see it does show about an inch and a half for Seattle here coming up by Sunday morning. Bigger amounts Olympia south. Hit and miss kind of across some of the Willamette Valley there, big mountain snows. But as we go on in through Monday, check it out. We continue to get rounds of snowfall here, and you can see this piling up across the area here, kind of highlighting southwest Washington again there with that low pressure system out there. We got to be careful. We'll watch that system closely. But for this first round, it's looking like about here, inch and a half for Seattle, according to the European there, a little bit more northeast there. And you can see the snow shadows there across Pierce County and northeast of the Olympic Mountains there as well. But look at Longview, Kelso, not bad. Olympia, not bad as well. Big mountain snows. And maybe a couple inches out there for Spokane. This is looking at the high-resolution Canadian model. Put that into motion here, and you can see, again, the models are doing really good here, showing the snow shadow across Pierce County, northeast of the Olympic Mountains. You know, an inch or two for Seattle here, a little bit higher for areas north, maybe Vancouver, BC, eastern portions of Vancouver Island, Olympia South again, pretty good model agreement and where the placement of the heavier snow is going to set up. And you can see as you go on in through Sunday, some snowfall for Spokane out there, maybe Moses Lake, Ritzville out there as well, big mountain snows across the higher terrain and some nice snow shadowing here as per usual here across places east of the Cascades. Now this is the NAM 3KM, shows a little bit of a different picture for Seattle. It kind of bumps up the snow totals here as you go on into Sunday morning across the Seattle Metro here. Otherwise, it has that snow shadow areas. It shows those pretty well also, and it shows higher amounts north up towards Vancouver, BC also. And big mountain snows. Now, this is looking at Seattle, Tacoma, right around 2 inches. The European is showing the ensemble mean and the control there. But if the temperature is marginal here, this could easily translate to 1 inch or less across the area. We got to watch the temperatures closely. It's going to be kind of a nowcast situation going on here. This is Portland International. Similar amount showing up here. But again, the problem with how the temperatures are going to do towards this event. It's going to be something I'm going to be watching my weather station as the precipitation is falling to see how far the temperature can fall in this dry air mass. Arlington Municipal, a little bit more than 2.5 in the control in the mean here. Bellingham, you can see better totals up there, up towards 3 inches showing up here on the European. Bremerton, a little bit more than that even, as you see, as we go on in through Sunday morning there, with an additional round of snowfall possible as we go on through early and mid next week. And that's really going to go for much of BC, Washington, and Oregon. That potential exists for that second round of snowfall coming in as well. McCord, you're kind of near that compressional heating there, coming off some of the higher terrain off to your east there. So if the temperature is marginal, you might only see a little bit of covering there on some of the grassy surfaces or whatnot. This is Olympia, better amounts the further you go south. And Chehalis, same thing there too, up towards 4 inches. Spokane, over 1 inch, more of the fluffy, dry variety here, limited amount of moisture to work with, but you can see multiple rounds of snowfall as you go on in through midweek potentially as well. Now, this is hot off the presses here. In fact, I'm going to update that, and we're going to stop there. And you can see this is a UW model, the 1.33 kilometer. You can see how great it is at picking out the terrain features here across the region. But it's not always the best performer, but we're looking at it anyway. You can see it does a pretty good job showing that snow shadow here across some of Pierce County and Tacoma, across places northeast of the Olympics. But look at the Seattle Metro getting between 1, 2, 3, 4 inches of snowfall out there, depending if you believe this model or not. You can see Everett getting, 2, 3 inches out of this as well. Olympia South down the I-5 corridor, nice amounts across the higher terrain as well. I really like this model just because you can see the terrain features so well. You can kind of see the sharp cutoff across the San Juans as well. Up across Orcas Island, some higher amounts versus Lopez and some of Friday Harbor there as well. Bellingham right on the cutoff there. Vancouver, BC would probably make out of this event quite well. Same with portions on eastern Vancouver Island. Now, taking a look here, this is Seattle-Tacoma International Airport. You can see us flirting with that cooler air as we go on in through the extended, kind of a classic La Niña signature here, keeping us cool on into the meteorological spring that starts on March 1st. This is the GFS. You can see those chilly temperatures all the way towards mid-March here. Man, classic La Niña signature there. This is National Blend of Models. Agrees with the GFS and the European. Now, this is what's been going on. So here's that low pressure center, that storm over California. And the next one, the frontal system here for us in the Pacific Northwest. Another low but cold air drops off the coastline there for additional rounds of snowfall potentially across the Pacific Northwest, including some of the lower elevations. And you can kind of see this ridge hanging out, maybe another system dropping down as we go on in through later this week. We'll watch that one as it comes. We're now at 150 hours as this European model is running as we speak, but you can see the active weather continuing with the ridging out here. Classic La Niña pattern continues. La Niña is just flexing its muscle here through February on in through early March. It looks like this is Spokane. You can see the chilly overnight lows all the way into early March here coming up. There's going to be some rounds of snowfall as we go through this 10-day period here as well. Now, this is looking at Seattle-Tacoma. It's another graph I like to look at once in a while. You can kind of see where the snowfall may occur here, and the actual amount of precipitation here, if you melted it down into water form, would be about 1/4 of an inch shown there. Now, taking a look here, this is Portland, Oregon. You can see their forecast, Portland 1 to 2, lesser down the Willamette Valley there. Of course, big amounts across some of the higher terrain there as well. It shows Longview less than 1 inch there, but it's some of the models were showing a little bit more than that. So let's see how that goes. And this is just through Sunday afternoon. There's going to be more potential here as we go through midweek. This is down from Medford, Oregon. You can see a great graphic here. You can see Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Monday, the high impact travel day there. You can see some of the west side valleys up to 1 inch of snowfall there. And of course, big amounts across some of the higher terrain with some gusty winds possible. Now, this is looking out towards, I believe this is Spokane. It is, yes. Cascade Passes, Eastern Basin here, Idaho Panhandle, 2 to 5 inches. And this goes on in through Sunday here. This was issued yesterday, however. Now, this is a Portland National Weather Service. send your reports in. If you guys are getting snowfall out there, it might be worth your time to get a snowboard out there and get a nice ruler out there. Do not measure on the grass or pavement if you can avoid it. You can include your location and elevation. This is Crater Lake. Check it out. They are above the average snowpack for usual out there this year. Just thought I'd show that graphic here. Now, taking a look here, this is going to change because we're going to put a lot of snowfall on the Cascades here. We're probably going to be increasing to considerable or even high avalanche danger at times, so make sure to check before you go out in the backcountry here, folks. Now, this is 6 to 10 day temperature outlook here. You can see all the way in through early March. The bullseye across the west coast exists, and on in through March 10th, again, including much of the west. This is risk of hazardous temperatures. This goes all the way on in through March 10th here. Just kind of a very cold late winter here through the western portion of the USA. There is a risk for heavy precipitation as we go through early March, depending on how these storm systems come in. Risk of heavy snow all the way down the west coast, Intermountain West, including Idaho, Montana, Wyoming, Utah, Colorado as well. So yeah, I love the look of that frontal system coming on here. I just hope these southerly winds don't warm us up and keep this, hopefully you don't wake up to 6 a.m. on Sunday morning to 34 degrees and rain falling out there. That would be kind of a bummer. But with any luck, you'll pick up an inch or 2 or 3 across some of western Washington. Better a chance up towards north BC there and some of the higher terrain as well. And I talked extensively about where this snow shadowing could occur. But if you don't get snow this round, don't despair too much. We're going to set up a low pressure system off the coastline here, and we're going to continue our chances through Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday here as well as we look to remain chilly. So we'll watch those systems one by one here coming up. I'm going to do a live stream later on tonight. We'll do some Q&As. We'll see what the new model runs show. So I hope you guys are having a good day. Get the cameras out. Try to get some of those higher cloud action, probably some good wave cloud action on the base of that cloud shield moving in here. So send those pictures on in to me on Twitter, Seattle Weather Guy. And yeah, so I'll talk to you guys during the live stream today, and I'll see you then.